I'd love to hear about the like strength side, just ways maybe you can get from like dance or even like gymnastics, just ways that you hit on like the 700-pound squat. I think that's how a
Yeah.
lot of us view strength. But I
Yeah.
think just looking more at like dance and gymnastics, there's some
Yeah.
things they do that are just insane feats of
Yeah.
strength. So maybe
Yeah.
just hit on that and yeah,
Absolutely.
what that looks
So
like.
I think jumping biomechanics are better in dancers. And I think it's because they work on foot and ankle intrinsic strength so much. And they are so in tune with their bodies that every little minutia of difference in terms of their range of motion is really worked on. And they do a very good job of doing a dynamic warm up before they work out. Certain college and professional athletes do have really good dynamic warm-ups now. We know that's so important, but like earlier on that didn't really exist. I remember like my warm-ups when I was playing soccer was like, okay, run the field like twice and then like maybe like, I don't know, do some lunges and call it a day. And so I think that getting better at understanding that, I think we're getting a lot of that from the dance literature, the importance of dynamics, but I think balance is so much better in dancers, and I think foot and ankle intrinsic strength is so much better in dancers, and like a good body awareness. And so that is where I think other athletes could pick up a lot from the dance population.
Yeah, that was something I tried to incorporate more. I worked with basketball for a couple of
Hmm.
years, and I think there's a lot of foot and ankle weakness, especially with
Oh,
how often they tape or are in like restrictive shoes. So
yeah,
for my warm ups, as much as I can, just get them barefoot, get them moving around,
yeah,
exploring, just
yeah,
without shoes on. I think
yeah,
that goes a long ways for
yeah.
sure.
And I think just like functional movement, right? Making sure that they have good body awareness, making sure that their flexibility is pretty similar. If there's something that's like constantly like a sticky point for them, like how do we work on strengthening you so that you can work through that and compensate appropriately, because not all of us have perfect biomechanics. That doesn't mean you shouldn't play a sport. It's just figuring out how to do it in a way that's not going to cause you injury down the road.
Yeah, because it's just like that part, like the foot and ankle for me is just with my knee injuries. It
Yeah.
just like is fascinating to me, the complexity of the foot and then the actual biomechanics. And then, so we're saying you're trying to just get them barefoot, but then like
Yeah.
that's like elementary to the actual biomechanics of the foot and
Yeah.
what we're capable of doing as athletes
Yeah.
and what the foot's capable of. I know we've talked about that early in the podcast. Like I that world is fascinating to me. I don't know. Is that something I'm trying to learn now, even as like post athleticism? But
Yeah.
like, how do we even educate and begin to understand like the biomechanics of the foot if you're a young athlete now? And I think that's probably something I would spend a ton of time looking into and trying to understand. And
Yeah.
just I feel like that would open the doors to more athleticism and also like the prehab thing of handling more strength
Yeah.
through impact. You talk
Yeah.
about like Jaden, you talk about a lot about the impact of running even on the foot. And I don't know. I don't know that we understand the biomechanics as much, uh, the
I
foot
think
as much as we maybe we should.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think the foot's kind of um hard to understand. There's a lot more bones in the foot than any other like joint,
It's
and there's all these
crazy.
ligaments and tendons that all come into this area. And if one thing's not working, or if some of those bones as you get older, they start to fuse together because of arthritis, how does that change your biomechanics? And I think it is a nod to the fact that there is an entire like subsection of medicine that is geared towards only the foot. Podiatrists
Yeah.
exist
Yeah.
only to look like only for the
Yeah.
foot. Like that's a whole nother type of doctor just for the foot. And then you have your foot and ankle surgeons too. And then you have sports medicine. So there's three different specialties that are geared towards just one part of our body. And that just goes to show how important it is for us. And I think that in order to keep understanding it, I think looking at the other issue is I think shoes, right? So there, there's an issue between like where fashion and function should coincide, and male or female, you guys, we everybody wants to have shoes that are cool or whatever. Like you
No
don't
doubt.
know.
No doubt.
There was a
Big shoe
time where
guy.
like the New Balance, like the dad New Balance shoe was very uncool, and now it came back, and now it's oh the dad shoe's
Yeah.
cool. Like my husband has a bunch of these, and I'm like, when we were teenagers, we'd laugh at our dad for wearing shoes like that. So luckily, things like that kind of come back in full circle. But at the same time, like looking at finding shoes that actually fit your feet well is really important. Like I had foot surgery a couple of years ago for I had a chelectomy, which is basically I had something called hallux rigidus in my big toe. So I had lost basically the range of motion of that big toe from years of dance and whatever. And I couldn't put my foot into heels anymore because it kept throwing off my biomechanics. So basically, I couldn't push through that big toe. And so I was falling over my foot onto the outside, and I was spraining my ankle all the time when I tried to run because I was pushing off crooked. I'm really over exaggerating here. I wasn't falling into walls or anything, but it was a problem. And so I think understanding that like certain shoes need to fit your foot really well, and finding a shoe that actually works well for you and is a good stability shoe, I think is important. And then I totally agree with Colin on saying get barefoot sometimes and work on training that foot so that you can actually see what your biomechanics are like without the assistance of the shoe. And then you can decide what shoe should fit you, not the other way around. You don't mold yourself into the shoe. The shoe has to mold itself to you. You got to find the thing that works for you.
I think it's a fine balance, right? It's the shoes that you wear most often, like every single day, that you should prioritize. Like they should
Yeah.
be like wide toe box, fit your foot, because that's going to
Yep.
be what you're standing in most of the time. And then you still have the option to wear those heels or whatever shoes you need to when
Yeah.
those occasions come. And I think
Yeah.
it's just finding the right fit most of the time. I think you hit on a lot of good things with like trunk, like feet. I think things that are commonly overlooked, and just taking a holistic approach to try and find the solution. Everybody's different. Everybody's anatomy is different, but
Yeah.
taking the time to do those things that people aren't, get educated on what exercises should I do for my core, for my feet, so that my hips and my knees don't get injured down the road.